Yeah, man, just graduated college. Now what? Welcome back, everybody. Here's another video that's really just very near and dear to my heart. Something that I've wanted to talk about for quite a while here. If you guys have seen a little bit of my comeback video, and kind of the reason I'm back in 2022, and just why I took such a long break, and possibly almost never returned to the channel, was really just because I reached a point where I kind of felt very, very lost. Post-graduation, and I'm someone that really knew what I wanted to do in college, and then when I left, things kind of turned out a little differently than I expected, and it kind of just sent me down a rabbit hole of trying to figure things out, which was very weird for me, and it's a feeling that I've never experienced before. So this video is really just for folks out there that much like myself, might get out, get a job, and then just really get stuck in the daily grind, and not really know what the purpose really is, especially if you're someone that's really independent. You start to kind of get that feeling of, well, what's really next? You get married, you have kids, you get a house. Like, this just seems very boring. And for those that enjoy that, this video is probably not for you. I know that there's very different types of folks out there. And some people prefer the very quiet, easy life, and there are elements of that that I think are very important. So this isn't, I'm not on the extreme end. If you're someone that has kind of reached the point where you want some more purpose, you just want to figure things out, and you kind of want a place to start, that's kind of what I will hope to accomplish through this video. So the way I want to break this down, I'm going to tell a little bit of my story, and then we're going to go ahead and go through some tips that I use personally that have really helped me kind of get back on track, not only just with this channel, but getting back on track with life overall, and kind of really figuring out what my why is. So I guess like the biggest thing that I missed about school to start off is just really the structure, right? So college was different from high school, obviously less structure. So it's like, I don't mean like full on, 7 hours of school, like class to class. Like, I don't mean it like that. In fact, by the time I got to senior year, even though I was taking so many credit hours, like they were all spread out. In between, I had so much time to like go work out and really spend so much time at my job and make a ton of money during college. It's just the idea of like having an end, or having other semesters to look forward to, knowing that you'll have like other courses, things are going to change, right? It's just, you had some milestones to look forward to constantly, versus like what really kind of irked me about getting into the job force. And again, I've worked most of my life, like since high school, so that wasn't new to me, but just doing the same thing every day was, once I was out of school, that's when it really hit me. It was like, this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, and that's just really tough to think about. I graduated Purdue during the pandemic. Everything went online, of course, so our generation, unfortunately, we have no idea what's going to happen. We graduated at a very weird time, so I understand it's tough. I mentioned in another video, and please check out my Amway video if you get a chance. There's some good stuff in there. I joined network marketing at the beginning of 2020, right before I graduated, so during my last semester, and then I quit near the end of the year while I was in my first major full-time job, like post-college. First full-time job was at AT&T, and then outreach right after. So I started my career in sales, B2B sales, at AT&T, and then went to outreach as an SDR, and then gained a lot of exposure to like above the line selling. I spent almost a year at outreach. So I got to a point where I realized that sales honestly was just a lot. I was doing well, and I had slow months like everybody else, but it was very taxing on me. The pay honestly was amazing, but it wasn't a big motivator for me. And I kind of reached the point where I had to kind of switch what I wanted to do. Otherwise I was just gonna go crazy. So I have a finance degree from Purdue. I figured it's time to use that and really just kind of figure out what it is that I wanted to do that isn't as aggressive as a sales career. So industry switch, joined and left network marketing, moved out to Seattle as well. This was originally for outreach because one of their headquarters is here, so I fully moved out here. I'm from Chicago, and then again, Purdue is literally right next door in Indiana, so I've been in the Midwest for pretty much my whole life. There was a scenery change. It was just, there's a lot of different things kind of happening all at once, and things that I didn't necessarily expect. I never expected to move out to Seattle. I never expected to leave a career in sales. Never expected to leave AT&T in the first place. Never expected to join a network marketing group. Didn't even know what that was before I joined, and then obviously figuring out what it was and leaving. Never expected any of that. Really was just a lot of change happening all at once, and then we had the pandemic, and it kind of just, it forced me to confront a side of myself that I never really realized that was there, and that was the side of like not enjoying what I was doing, right? So for a long time, what really happened is I was lost. I spent a lot of time, I'm not gonna lie, outside of work, like just either doing overtime, working out, or gaming. Working out was probably the most positive of all of that, but too much overtime, obviously super bad for you. Too much gaming on just like, just essentially binge watching stuff, like obviously also super bad for you. Just setting up some bad habits that I never had through college and just growing up. And I mean, it was pretty short. It was only for like it was for like a year, right? And like it was, it was fun. I got to travel a lot, actually. I traveled more in 2021 than I ever have in my entire life. I think I've been on a plane more in 1 year than I have in my entire life, and there were some good experiences in there with good friends, and it was great. But I also felt the whole time that there was something missing. Like there was just no purpose there. Things were very different from what I expected. I don't like Seattle too much, and at the time of this recording, I am moving back to Chicago, just because that's where I grew up. And now I'm kind of reevaluating things. Now I'm looking at things from a more, I guess, like clean perspective and understanding kind of what my why is. That was part of the reason I brought this channel back. And there's so many things that I've kind of started to do and figure out over the past couple months that I think would be a huge help to people that are in similar shoes to myself. Because I mean, life's hard, and we have a pandemic going on, so obviously do everything at your own pace. But if you feel you're in a place to kind of make some changes and just kind of get life moving again, and really just like get some of that spark back that you've had before and feel like you've lost, much like myself, then kind of all these tips and materials and things that I do, some of these are definitely probably for you. Getting right into some of these tips, first thing I did is just really figuring out my why. So I encourage you to really just figure that out. It'll inform everything else on this list, as well as creating a set of goals. Your why is essentially your purpose. Your why is your mission through life, right? My why was way too involved on money. It was way too centered on money during my last 2 years of college, and it was so motivating to a point. But I think part of that is also because I didn't have as much time to myself, right, between school, work, and extracurriculars and homework and all this stuff. And then starting YouTube and internships and applying for jobs, I didn't have as much time to really think about that why. So it seems like such a great motivator up until you take school away, you take the stuff away, you have some more free time, and then you're like, holy shit, this is not motivating at all. So it's very important that you really sit down and be real with yourself, and understand what you're good at, what you're not good at, kind of what you want to do, what your dreams are outside of just like normal things, right? Just understand kind of what you want to leave behind, whether that's like a legacy or kind of what you're striving for. So just to give you an example, my why that I've realized is just the idea of like not necessarily making a ton of money and reaching financial freedom, because that was not motivating at all. My why is just being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want, right? So I know my manager actually at Outreach put this in such a great way. It's the idea of having fuck you money. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, for those of you that don't know. Just being a person of color, like I see things every day that, there's different crazy stuff happening in the world all the time. So just being able to have the finances to essentially not being spoiled, but like doing whatever you want, right? Being able to say move out of a certain environment or even a whole place. Or even just like the small things like that, being able to travel, being able to just enjoy things in life because life is limited. That's what really gets me going, and gets me out of bed in the morning. So really just think about that. I spent a lot of time on that because that's the most crucial thing. From there, you want to set a series of goals. That's what I did. You sit down, write some goals. There's a lot to be said about goal setting. You can create categories like finances, health, relationships. There's a couple more, right, that I can't think of off the top of my head, like career, There's just different parts of your life that you should be setting, pretty much every part of your life, you should be setting some goals in, and these need to be achievable. These need to be attainable. Don't think too small, but think large enough where you have stuff to work on over the course of say a year, and then break them down into smaller goals. And these will all be informed by your why, right? These goals will all help to inform that why. Some other things that might be helpful to get back on track, if you don't already do this, really create a budget and plan to just pay off all debt. Very important. Can't tell you enough. I've been guilty of this myself, where I'll accumulate a little bit of debt for a little bit, I'll pay it off, and then I'll accumulate more. This is talking credit card debt, not even touching the student loans and the car debt yet, but it's a cycle. It sucks. I finally broke out of that, but I know a lot of people can stay in that for their whole life and just be making minimum payments, and your credit scores suck, and you're barely kind of scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck. If you just, really just take some time to evaluate your finances, and that can also be a whole separate video, it can do wonders for just your life in the long run. The other thing to really just consider doing is to potentially, and I know this doesn't work for everybody, and I like I mentioned, I have a dysfunctional family, but live with your parents if you can. Save up an emergency fund, I'd say for 1-2 years. I know some people have really, really great families. If you do, live there. If you have a financial situation that's kind of tough, right, for yourself, that's an easy way to get out of that. Obviously work full time, do some overtime, all that money you get to keep because you don't have bills to pay or anything, and you'll be able to start paying off either credit card debt, loans of any kind, or just naturally creating a savings fund. So when you finally move out, you have a great financial kind of set of legs to stand on. And it's believe me, it's one of the best things you can do. I am fortunate enough to go back for a little bit. I know it's not for everybody, but if it is in your case, definitely do it if you can, because it's a great way to just get on your feet financially. It's one less thing to stress about. One big thing that I kind of want to emphasize is just really just figuring out what you want to do. So I know a lot of people in college, the goal is to get a job, right? The goal is to get a really good job, good paying, stuff like that. It may not always be your dream job. And always, whenever somebody hits me up on LinkedIn that's in college or anything like that, or even what people, I'm not too far out of college, so I remember this very well when I was in career classes and stuff like that. It's all about just choosing a job, just getting a job. That's the number one goal. And then eventually find what you want to do. A lot of people will forget that second part and they'll just work that job forever, or they'll kind of hop around, right? And I was in that phase for a little bit, and just really they won't really think about what they actually want out of a job, and they'll be miserable doing kind of what they want forever, either for very low pay, or maybe they pay them really well, and that's why they don't leave, right? Which that's a problem in itself, right? You're never going to be satisfied. So some things to really think about is what type of company culture you want to be a part of, whether you want to be remote, in person, or hybrid, especially in today's environment. Very important to think about that. And then just day to day, do you want something a little bit more involved, or do you want something a little bit more relaxed, or something in between, right? So it doesn't have to be at both ends of the spectrum. There's an in between. So those are 3 really good places to start. I've been there, just a little lazy, and you don't want to kind of just look at different opportunities that are available because you're tired. I get it. Everybody's tired. But these are some really great ways to just get thinking, and just I hope that helps. Definitely figure out where you want to work long term, especially since you already have a job, right? It doesn't hurt to put an hour or something in every day, just kind of job searching and figuring things out, and eventually, hopefully, landing your dream job, which is kind of one of my biggest goals right now, especially when I move back to Chicago. For those that already have a good financial basis, or probably don't want to move back in with their parents, or they kind of want a fresh start, right? Consider moving out somewhere new. So as much as I actually don't really like Seattle, when I moved all the way across the country to get here, I will say that I don't regret this past year having this lease at all. And the reason is because you just get so much exposure to a new area, new culture, and just it's a new environment, right? I had the similar experience when I went to Purdue. It wasn't that different from Chicago, but even so, it opened me up to so much in the world that I didn't know existed, or just so many different types of mindsets and people, and just so much diversity. And not just in race, but in thought, right? Especially if you're in a place where you're figuring things out, you don't understand kind of what you want to do at all, you don't have a place to start, moving could be a good place to get there, because that'll just get you thinking fresh, especially if you live with your parents. And it'll get you to think independently, because you have to, right? You have to clean, you gotta pay bills, you gotta learn all this stuff once you're living on your own. So it helps you figure out what type of person you actually are. And then a lot of other things will kind of follow that. It helps to add a little bit of mental clarity. So I have 3 last things here. One thing is just start a side hustle, start a project, or even just volunteer. Do something else besides work that you can look forward to every single day, or at least, a couple times a week, or once a week, or, weekly. Like, you want to be doing something that it gives you a lot of value, and also gives you something to do besides just like eat and sleep when you get off work. It gives you a reason to have a life. So for me, that's this channel that's creating content, right? Helping others. This is something that I'm super passionate about. This is why I do it. For some people, I know it's volunteering. They enjoy volunteering at least once or a couple times a week. Definitely do that if you can. There's so many ways, just like either get involved in your community, or so many side hustles that you can start, even if it's not for the money. It's just giving yourself something to kind of do. And again, just learning another skill is always helpful. So tons of stuff out there to really just keep you motivated, and then also advance your human capital. So I can't speak on this too much because I'm not the best in shape person in the world, but definitely exercise and eat right. I cannot stress this enough. I ate like shit for many years, always trying different diets and doing all this crazy stuff, like in college and high school and all this stuff. High school, I kind of just ate whatever. College, I kind of tried to get like different things into my diet, and it wasn't until really this past year that I started really focusing on those calories, really understanding macros and the types of foods that you should be balancing, and portion control and all this stuff. And then also stay consistent in your exercise, man. I was super consistent in college, and once the pandemic started, I kind of got a little lazy. I stopped going to the gym, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll get to it next week. Next week became next month became like almost a year later. And then I would go sometimes, but I just wasn't consistent, right? Like, I would go once in a while, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, I did something, and then I'd stop going for like a week or two. So just really stay consistent if you can, because believe me, it's all gonna add up. I gained a ton of weight over the pandemic, and I'm working very hard to lose that now. And I've been consistent for almost 5 months now, or is it 6? It's really done wonders for my energy. It's done wonders for my motivation, and just getting up every day. And then not only that, making sure you're eating the right foods and really being serious about your diet. That in itself, really just like learn how to cook and really enjoy the art of cooking, because there's so much you can just make at home, and it's going to give you the energy you need in less calories to really just go about your day. So just combine those two things. I'm working on that myself, and definitely encourage those that haven't really paid attention to that side of life to really do it, no matter how you feel. Believe me, I understand. I love food. Like, really just consider taking some time to kind of evaluate. This last thing is very important. Take some time to have fun. Like, life is short. Like, really just enjoy some of your time. Don't overindulge. Time can pass very fast if you do. I spent almost a year gaming, which kind of sucks. For me, it's like, where did the time go? But schedule it if you need to. That's what I do. But if you don't have to schedule, just make sure you're making time. Go out, right? Or like play video games, or watch some content, or just do something that's different from your daily routine. Something that can just really help you relax, right? Please don't become an alcoholic. Make sure that you're making time for that, because it's very important for your mental health. Believe me, in the long run, it's going to help you so much. And this all comes back to just helping to figure out what type of person you are. And if you're not doing things outside of just working, you'll never figure out what you enjoy or what you like and stuff like that. So those were all the things that kind of I'm working on right now, that I'm doing, things that have kind of gotten me out of a rut and really helped me figure out, hey, like, this is my why. This is my purpose. And it's, I don't fully have it together, right? None of us do. And many people never fully will. But ultimately, you can set some good milestones, some good goals to really get you on track. And that's the whole point of this video and some of these tips. Anyways, y'all, that's the video. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Let's smash that like button. I'm still reading this because there's so much stuff that YouTubers say at the end of a video. It could get very confusing. I haven't made a video in like 2 years, so this is all like, I gotta keep this fresh and written down. Let's get this video trending higher than Mohit's body weight at like 3 months into the pandemic. Please subscribe if even a fraction of my videos resonate with you. And I'll see everybody in the next one. Peace out.